2016 coalition formed just down the street here, around the table at Poder. About a year and a half ago, fall of 2013, when we caught wind of this thing that we soon deemed the monster of the Mission. It's the largest market rate development in Mission District history. It says 350 units. It's down a little bit from that. It's like 341 units now, I believe. Mostly luxury housing. They have come along just a tiny bit because of all the pressure that we've put on them. But the impact that this would have on that immediate neighborhood and the ripple effect that it would have down Mission Street and just the effect that it would have on our entire neighborhood would be profound. We felt that this was just exactly the opposite of what the Mission District needed. The Mission District is in dire need of affordable housing. Of the projects that have been approved and are in the pipeline right now, it's 93% market rate housing in the Mission District. So we can just see the impact that that's having on our neighborhood. The displacement that it's driving. In the last 10 years, we've lost 8,000 Latinos in the Mission District. If you look at the line graph, it's nothing but down. The line graph of folks making 150K or more is just intersected with those making 40 or less, and now the neighborhood is going to be predominantly people making 150K a year or more. And it's just transforming the neighborhood. The neighborhood is, as we all know, is an extraordinary neighborhood, one of the most culturally significant Latino neighborhoods in the country, and we're losing it. We're losing a neighborhood, we're losing a community, we're losing a culture. We need affordable housing, and we don't need another giant monster of luxury/market rate priced housing. When we formed, beyond just opposing the monster and the Mission, we also decided to make a demand of no more market rate housing in the Mission District until affordable needs for working class folks and the poor are met. And you can see that down at the bottom of this sheet where our demands are. We also demanded that Maximus, the developer, abandon the project that they had proposed. And we're asking that this land be handed over to the community. We would love for the city to buy this property for affordable housing. And as you can see, despite our pretty bold demands, it caught on like fire. And now it grows weekly, and we have close to 120 organizations from the neighborhood, increasingly from across the city, that are supporting this. Our stand for no more market rate is what translated, many months later into the proposed moratorium that David Campos proposed with the Board of Supervisors, and that brought beyond just the monster and the Mission, and are trying to take on as many new projects that are popping up as we can. The second largest market rate development proposed for the Mission is what we deem the Beast on Bryant, where South Space used to be. The space is still there. That entire block is proposed for demolition. What used to be there? I used to go there. Cell Space. Soft space? Cell Space. It's the 2,000 block of Bryant. Yeah, Bryant Street between cross streets.
I drive by there all the time. But
it's I don't know. It's probably between 18th and 19th, or something like that on Bryant Street. And Cell Space is still there. Extraordinary art space that actually the city's put a fair amount of money to it over the years, and now they want to demolish it for luxury condos. Another area that still has some working class folks living there and stuff. This would, be a dagger in the heart of that community as well. And we just fought that at the Planning Commission, and we managed to push it back now until September. Go ahead.
The building trade just voted against that.
The building trades came, that is a
Well,
reflection, that is a reflection, I mean, there's a lot going on there anytime, right? But that is a reflection of the sort of impact that this kind of rebellion in the Mission District has had. Even the building trades are opposing the Beast and Bryant. In fact, the building trades have listed 8 or 9 projects, all market rate projects, that they are opposing in the Mission District. This is absolutely unheard of. When Maximus Real Estate Partners proposed their community benefits package, they held a meeting at the Laborers Hall just a few blocks from here. And I'm sure their plan was to ingratiate themselves with that union and to get the support of that union. Well, we took over that meeting. We called it March, it was on March 4th, and we called it March 4th on Maximus. And if you want to see another inspiring, amazing thing, and you haven't seen just a moment, you should Google and watch that video of us taking over that meeting. Well, for a few moments, there was a little bit of tension between us and the laborers, but we made it clear that we weren't there. We were not in any way there to oppose the laborers. We were there only to oppose Maximus. And we ended up having these great discussions. And then 2 days later, the laborers voted to go neutral on the monster and the mission. So that was as good as a no vote as you could hope for. So we've even made, as I said, inroads with the trade, the building trades.
So where you say, 5 projects where the unions are against them, why, how did that happen? Why are they doing it? I mean, did they make $30?
Because it's untenable in the mission right now for market rate development. And those folks who have political ambitions, etc., are seeing the writing on the wall, and they're siding with the community, and it's quite remarkable.
They backed David Chu, and that didn't stop them from getting him in the assembly, and also taking over the delegates. The state delegates, which
right.
went to. So right. That was stacked with the union members. So this is very.
It's profound. There's an article in the Chronicle today about how remarkable it is that the building trades are opposing the Beast on Bryant, and so you can look. It was just ran in the Chronicle today, actually.
So Andy, what is the status in terms of the normal city approval planning process?
Right.
What's the status
for this project?
Yeah.
We are waiting on the draft EIR.
Environmental.
Yes, we are waiting on the
environmental. It's kind of early on.
It's early on, and we've delayed it significantly already. I mean, we've already pushed the timeline back almost a year, I think.
So,
but in the fall, at some time, the draft EIR will be released, and they don't have to do a full environmental impact report because of how Eastern Neighborhoods Plan has this blanket EIR. It's really a messed up system. There's all kinds of What's that?
They've kind of taken advantage of the Eastern Neighborhoods Plan.
No question.
No question. Sort of what that kind of boilerplate EIR is.
So there's like this blanket EIR that covers the mission. So you don't have to, for most projects, you don't have to do a full EIR. But they do have to do like a partial environmental impact report because of a couple of, one of the things it does is it shades, I don't know if this is why it's got the EIR, but it'll probably have to get a conditional use for this, but this project would cast like an 8-month shadow on Marshall Elementary, which would be like right back here. And that's a big pressure point, and we're doing a lot of action with the school board to try to get the school board not to cut a deal with them, not take a check, and sign on to the project. So we're pushing really hard on that front. But so we're early in the process. But in the fall, the draft EIR should come out, and then the hearings will start. But for the time being, there's a bit of a lull, and that's why we've got time to kind of take on some of these other projects, keep building our coalition, fight for a moratorium. So there is currently, so we've submitted, not we, but the Mission Economic Development Agency is kind of taking the lead on this. Meta has submitted a ballot measure, and if we can get enough signatures in the next 2 weeks, that will go on the ballot. It's certainly going to be a challenge to get those signatures in the next 2 weeks. But if that's something that you're interested in, that is happening. and I can definitely put you in touch with, how you can get involved in that. So, a moratorium would be great. This would, the one that went before the Board of Supervisors would have started out as only a 45-day moratorium, and then it would have to be extended by other votes. This one would be 18 months up front, an 18-month moratorium on market rate development in the Mission District. So that could really slow down, even frustrate these kind of projects enough that they might give up for a bit. So that would be great. Like I said, it's going to be a challenge to get on there. In the meantime, we're gonna fight these at the Planning Commission. And, yeah.
I would say this picture though,
Yeah, please.
it doesn't even do justice to how mammoth that would
It's
alter
enormous.
the landscape
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
16th and Mission down around Bryan and wrap around right into Marshall.
If you go to the plaza and you look at the palm trees, I figured out that the palm trees, I think, are about 5 stories. Some of them that are over on that corner where the Walgreens and the Burger King is, that's where this is going to be. So, like, next time you go out there, look at those palm trees and then imagine towers that are twice as tall, and you'll get a sense of how huge this is going to be.
And there's other things going on in that neighborhood too. This is the conduit down to Mission Bay as well.
Yes.
From barge.
Yes.
So you have all of those Google buses and everything else. You have a hugely impact. It's already
Yes.
hugely impacted
Yes.
that corner.
Yes.
And then they have like a gazillion people move in.
Precisely, and the irony is that the folks that are going to be able to afford to live in these units use public transit at a much lower percentage, right? They're either going to be taking tech buses to work, or they're going to be using Uber and Lyft incessantly, or they're going to own a car, right? They're the people who are least likely to take advantage of this incredible transit-rich corridor. It's the perfect place to build affordable housing. Folks who can't afford cars, folks who don't work in the tech industry and don't get Google buses to work, folks who aren't going to be using car sharing. I hate to even use that term, but that's who's going to live here. The folks who are least likely to use all the wonderful transit that is at that stop. So you're going to actually increase traffic there. You're going to create more traffic. That's going to be more dangerous to the children attending Marshall Elementary, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's already one of the highest injury corridors in the city, according to Vision Zero data that the city has compiled. So, we've argued that you're actually going to make this like less safe than it already is. It's because you're going to be bringing more traffic to one of the highest traffic, highest injury corridors in the city. So it's bad for pedestrians, it's bad for seniors, it's bad for children, it's bad for disabled folks. It's going to be more injuries. And then on top of all the other impacts it's going to have on the neighborhood. We're already seeing increased rents in commercial properties in that proximity. They're planning for this, It's going to turn Mission Street into another Valencia Street. I mean, that's the plans, So we think that there's a lot of stuff worth hanging on to in the Mission, and we want, if we can get affordable housing to keep folks here, keep this neighborhood thriving. So that's what we're pushing for. And of course, we would love your support. We'd love to be able to add your list. Love to keep you plugged in.
Brent, do you want to stick around and take a vote on this?
Sure.
We're going to do it in like 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Sure.
Any questions?
Yeah.
Excuse my naivete on this,
No
but
problem.
is there any objective standards on which an EIR could be challenged? And it sounds like they would have a tough time justifying.
We,
based on just what you described.
Right. We, I don't know all, I'm naive on that as well, so you certainly don't need to apologize. But so they have, before they do their draft EIR, they release something that sort of covers the scope of what they're going to cover, and they announce that, and it goes out, and it's public, and we get to look at it, and we got to see, these are the things that they're going to look at. And we already looked at the scope, and we're like, this is insufficient for this reason, this reason, this. We kind of already picked that apart. And we raised that objection, and we did it kind of, we raised that objection, so we didn't cover all these things. Assuming full well that they're not going to cover that stuff, or if they do, they're going to do it lightly. And so, so the plan is that if they don't address those things, then we can, you know, if we have the opportunity or we have the money or whatever, we can file suit later on and say they didn't, you know. So, yes, there are ways to challenge the EIR, and we will, you know, be exploring all those options if that's what we need to do when we get down the road. Does that kind of answer your question?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the City College on golf and flags, that's gonna be another crazy,
Yes.
right? You know, the City College supposed to sell that,
Yep.
and then flags, I think it's sold, right?
Yes, it's going to
Oh.
be.
That's gonna be another trend.
Yes.
Just one update on that.
Yeah.
There was a Chronicle article which said that the appeal has been done. The president of the board of trustees commented the very next day that is not true.
Oh,
It's not
really?
finished.
Okay.
There's going to be a lot of public input, opportunity for input. Probably was trying to squelch, you know, the rumors.
Right, right.
So stay tuned.
Yeah, that seemed really strange that that just got,
Yeah.
that came out of nowhere, so.
It's like, wow, the power of centralized, you know, leadership.
Yeah,
Michael, last question.
just a clarification of that moratorium, it was 45 days, but it wasn't against building, it was for having time to purchase property so that the city could build its own affordable housing, because there's properties out there, there's so few properties left, and the properties are being bought out by the private sector. And this was supposed to provide lawmakers, those supervisors and other folks in the planning commission time to see if they could actually get up some strategy to purchase those properties. This, on the other hand, is it's outside, it's like putting a mansion on a sidewalk.
Right.
And that's, it's all part of the same dysfunctional hypergrowth in the mission right now that happened in Southwood Market a few years ago.
I like that, dysfunctional hyper.
So let's, thank you, Michael. So let's take the vote, so all in favor of attaching the name of the organization to the plaza?
To opposing.
To oppose this project. right?
Endorsing Plaza 16.
Yeah,
College.
Endorsing Plaza
Oppose.
16.
That counts.
Mike, can you record this as well?
Michael is, yeah.
Okay.
So, okay, hold up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
Did
7,
you vote?
8, 9, 10, 11.
You do spending pages.
11 endorse.
You guys
All those opposed?
Yes, you have to read these.
All those opposed? Or
If I paid my
abstention?
dues.
0,
There's no
0.
dues here.
Right, thank you very much.
Just pay the labor, you can't do anything.
Well,
I already did.
with that, I think thank you very much, Megan, for coming in.
Thank you for having us.
Make sure you know what this is. Can I have one of those?
Yeah, you sure can.
And then just one more time, Denise has the initiative signatures for throwing Airbnb overboard, essentially.
After that, I have to do the opposite.
Yeah, we're gonna do that.
Oh, actually, I have a petition too for the proposing the monster commission too.
Oh, sure.
Pass that.
Pass it around.
Okay, so for anyone who hasn't heard, well, I'll just go start from the start. In 1999, San Francisco voters overwhelmingly passed approval for the downtown Caltrain extension project, which would make bring Caltrain up within a block of the downtown terminal, bus and train terminal. It's something that San Franciscans overwhelmingly support. It will extend the peninsula's commuter rail system to SF's new to BART and Muni, AC Transit, and everything else. Will massively relieve car traffic into and out of the city and across Bay Bridge. With the kind of growth we're looking at, it's something we desperately need. We need to decrease that car traffic. Another coincidence is Caltrain is just about to replace their diesels with electric, so this could make us ready for high-speed rail a lot sooner than we otherwise would be. And much of the project has already been completed. Actually, the whole thing could be done by 2022 or 2023. But City Hall is waffling because of Mission Bay development. There's talk that they may delay it by up to 15 years. So we need to make sure that's not going to happen. There's going to be a City Hall rally on the steps of City Hall on Wednesday at 11 a.m. A lot of people from various transit interested organizations are going to be there speaking, and making sure that this gets heard and it's out in the open, what's going on. We need to make sure this proceeds and proceeds in the best way possible. So we appreciate anybody that can manage to make it out there, come out and support it. And there's also a sponsor list. It's a little bit late for us to sponsor this thing since it's just 2 days off, but if we want to take a vote on that, we can. Anyway, so everybody, support that in any way you can, support UTX in any way you can. The other thing is the California Disclose Act, which
Can you say what organizations are?
I've got a couple here. RailPad, Track, the Bay Rail Alliance, Save Mini, the Sierra Club, and there are a few others. And we can add our name to the list if we want to. California Disclose Act, as probably everybody here knows, was killed by the unions last August. And so we've got a new version out. We're going to keep doing this until the damn thing passes. This time it's going to the Assembly first. It's AB 700. That's what's on the clipboards that I handed out. It's basically the same thing. What we took out was the provision that required disclosure for office campaigns. So now it's purely for initiatives. But pretty much everything else about it is still the same. It mandates that the top 3 sponsors of a TV or radio or newspaper ad are all shown in large block letters instead of the committees as they now are. So instead of having, for instance, Stop Hidden Taxes, Coalition of Taxpayers and Employers with major funding from California, basically you would actually have the names of the people who paid for the ad. So in that case it would be Chevron, Philip Morris, and Anheuser-Busch. Anyhow, so this is something we've been working on for 5 years. If we don't get it through this year, we're not going to turn it into a 2-year bill again. We're going to actually have them put it on the ballot. So it may end up being a ballot measure, but if that happens, there's going to be money involved. And for some reason, I've never had that kind of money. We need to fight these things. So anything you can do to support this, definitely sign our petition, and we will let you know when the bill is up for you. Oh, the progress of the bill, let me just address that, is through the Appropriations Committee. They delayed the floor vote, which some people thought was a good thing. I think it's ominous because what they did a couple of years ago was run out the clock on us. They just made it impossible to get it through the Senate, so I have a feeling they're going to do that again. So yeah, Michael?
There's castles that are cheaper than an apartment in San Francisco. So now there's also a post office closure on 101 Hyde, which is heavily used by homeless people, and it's closing to build some god-awful, ugly, unaffordable by you and I, probably, apartments. So more fugly SF architecture in the works. There's so much of it. They're turning it into a bedroom community, so we've got to stop them. I want to stop them. I hope you do too. And I got some laughs out of the cheaters who got caught cheating and what their mates did. Now, living off the grid, here's another tweet about living off the grid. It's illegal. So sometimes the government will go after you for not hooking up to your power grid. So, and for actually saving rainwater, that's a crime sometimes. One guy was doing it, but they accused him of diverting a river. So, anyway, there's also 11 tactics used by mainstream media to manufacture consent. Now, the first one is lying by omission. When they manufacture your consent, they lie by omission, which means they leave out important facts. And they just talk about the symptoms of the cause, like people in the street, broken windows, rather than why are the people in the street, and why are the windows not breaking themselves. So, and then there's, I don't know, controlling the debate, where they control the questions that are asked on shows where maybe they'll spend 19 seconds talking about a really important issue and then 75 minutes talking about Justin Bieber getting arrested for drunk in public or whatever he got. So, yeah, it's just, the anchors often recite the same talking points or the same slogan. It'll be a catchphrase or a segue. Also, and sometimes that's what I mean by scripted news, and the politicizing everything, making everything black, white, up, down, good, or usually it's good, bad. Everything, this is all good, this is all bad, and then they'll have a name for it. It'll be stereotypical for them. And so I'm talking about they, meaning the news media, which we are not slaves to here, fortunately. So that's one struggle we don't have, is we don't have to struggle to talk about the things we want to talk about if we have shows like this. It's great. And sometimes they'll label people like conspiracy theorists. When somebody thinks that, oh, they're trying to privatize the water, oh, that's just a conspiracy theory. And they'll dismiss it. Or climate change. And so then if they ask the wrong questions and they're not confrontational to the issue, then it's actually, that's how they're also manufacturing consent. The media, that is. And then they'll bury the story. Sometimes they'll report a really interesting, good story, like, oh, they talked about why are they spraying poison in the sky, and there were a 3-part series on Channel 7, and part 3, they had to take it off the internet. They had to take part 1 and 2. They scrubbed that. I had the video for a while, I don't know if I don't think I still have it, but yeah, it was about how they're spraying aerosols in jetliners, passenger jets, and other planes, and just the clouds stay there, and they're affecting the climate. They're breaking up the storms. That's why it's not raining. They're trying to use other reasons why it's not raining here. Why? I don't know. That's a conspiracy. And that's what conspiracy theorists do. They talk about things like that, and sometimes if you're paranoid, it's because there's something to be paranoid about also, so. It sounds too weird to be true, maybe it is true. And they'll trivialize things and distract with celebrity stories, like I said, Justin Bieber, and they'll flat out lie or use a lot of distracting graphics and blinking lights and, cut to a commercial, that sort of thing. Maybe make the guest that was talking too much disappear or cut his mic or edit his dialogue.